I'm Simply, and
He's Opinionated, and this episode is going to be about perspective.
You missed episode 8.
I did miss episode 8. It's been a while. We took a week off.
Yes,
Sorry about that, by the way. But so we don't do it every week, and I don't get into the routine.
See, but, to be fair, I'm going to apologise because it was kind of like my bad, guys. I do apologise. But personal shit is personal shit. But anyway, besides that,
yes. Anyway,
yes.
So perspective. I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about things like to do with money and your views on what you find more important now in life. So since we both had children, obviously back when we were younger, like teenage years, of like going through go out drinking when like you was like early 20s and stuff, how your perspective on like spending your money has changed now. Like there's quite a wide variety of things that covers, and being as I talk about this quite a lot generally with my friends when it comes to having a child, and how, because a lot of my other friends don't have kids, so they have loads of free, and also still some of them still live with their parents as well, so they obviously can do whatever they like with their money, really, because they don't pay rent, they don't have a car to pay for necessarily, they don't have children to pay for, so their money can just go on whatever they like. Normally it's around the topic of streaming equipment, because as most people know, if you're following my channel and stuff, I've for the better part of a year been trying to get a PC set up, but money because my money goes on my rent and my child, like it should do, the important things.
Of course.
Whereas, so every time I get paid every month, I split up into different brackets. Like I put all my rent into like my savings account and such for, everything you do with your money. Whereas that sort of stuff isn't necessarily important to other people. And I find it really interesting how just for generally like getting older, that sort of stuff changes quite dramatically. I remember not even thinking about saving money when I was like 20, 21, 22. Even though I had my daughter at 22, which is quite young. Turns out it's quite good now, because when I'm older, she's going to be quite. She'll be. I think I'm not going to be about 40 when she's 18, so it works out quite well for me. But hopefully, I have a bit of life left. But I can start saving money. But I find it really interesting how much different even in myself, that I look at how I handle money now, and what I account as like happiness as well, in perspective of what makes you happy, what's important and what makes you happy. Because I know a lot of people feel that, for instance, if they're not in a relationship, they can't be happy, and I'm quite the opposite in a sense. So not to the point where I don't want to be in a relationship, because that's not what I'm on about. It's more the fact I don't need to be in one to be happy with myself, because as long as I've got like a roof over my head, my bills are paid, my daughter's healthy and happy and everything else, that's, in my perspective, that's what's important. Anything else after that is kind of just like an add-on or a bonus in a sense.
Or secondary importance.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the number one thing. Whereas I think if I hadn't have had children and I was now single and without child at my age of 29, nearly 30 that I am now, I think I very much would want to be in a relationship, and probably quite possibly need to be in a relationship, because I probably would be quite lonely. Because at this point I would have been moved out nearly 10 years at this point, and I would have my job, and that's pretty much it. So I can kind of, in a way, see how people need to have one, but I'm glad that I'm in that position that I'm not. And it's looking back at when I found out I was having my child and all the stresses that brings, it's kind of funny, but in a weird way, it's helped me look at things differently, which is kind of fun. And I reminisce on that quite a lot. I don't know if you've got anything to talk about on the subject, but you said you had one thing you wanted to mention about it, or?
No, it's just when you discussed this with me earlier about perspective, and kind of like made me think, like, obviously, since you're a parent, and it's like, I know that a lot of people have like it's usually the mum or something that is like the carer than the dad, because like you could call that the traditional, usual, what people say tradition, which is stupid, but it's like ever since that you became a father, and obviously you've done nothing but, you know, do the best of your abilities. And the funny thing is, I personally don't think you've actually changed since I've met you, because you was never one of those people that end up in a back alley, like, you know, like coked up or drugged up or stuff.
Oh no, I think you smoked.
So I wouldn't even call you like a full-on like wild child when you were younger, or when you didn't have like a responsibility of another human being. You were quite sensible in comparison to some of the people that I know. But yeah, it's funny though, because you've always been an organized person to me, so it's like it was even more manic when you were a parent, and like it solidified even more. I was like, damn, he's super organized now. But you still have that, you still retain some of your youthful perspectives and stuff, which is the key. And because a lot of people think, don't they, as soon as we become parents or have great responsibilities, they change into these like boring whatever. And I think some people have that mentality where it's like, no, you have to be this now.
Oh, of course they do. Yeah. That's it's interesting that you think I haven't changed, because I personally think that I've changed quite a lot, in terms of like growing up. But then again, I suppose, if you'd have met me, because when I met you, I met Mike out when I was drinking, by the way, through a mutual friend. So at that time, I'd already changed quite a bit from what I was previously, because I was very immature before I started going out to town and stuff, and met you and all the rest of the people that we met. And then I changed again, I feel, anyway. And this is kind of how it loops into perspective. What I view as important, I feel is how I've changed more than anything else. And like before, for instance, whenever we used to go to town on the Thursday nights, it cost me about £40 a taxi each way to get home and there each night, and that's without any money I would spend on drinking. Do you know, in the first year that I met you, I spent £2,000 on drinking?
No, I did not.
And that's including the taxis. But that's how, because obviously we went there every Thursday, and then I ended up going there nearly every other day. We went out nearly every other day, which again, I was like 21. I was working 3 jobs. I had, thousands in savings. Why would I not? Do you know what I mean? I had no responsibility. Why not? There's nothing wrong with that. Do you know what I mean? I earn my own money. I can do what I like with it, kind of thing, kind of attitude. But that personally now makes me feel sick. Because, like, I can't even save money now, which a lot of parents who are listening to that will completely understand, because you try to save money and then something happens, like the car breaks, or my daughter needs something new for school, or whatever the thing is, right? So it's just, it's very, I often think about how much, I spent so much money on a taxi. Like, to spend, I wouldn't dare spend £40 on a taxi. Like, you wouldn't catch me dead spending 40 quid one way in a taxi. But back then I was just like, yeah, screw it. And it'd be like midnight as well, which is the mad thing. I get like a message to someone say, do you want to come to the pub in like half an hour? And I look at my phone and it's like 10 to 12 at night, and I was like, are you going out? Like, yeah. And I've been at work for like 12 hours. Like, yeah, screw it, I'll just go. Like, and there was just no thought about it. And I get home like 6 in the morning or whatever. And it's crazy.
I think it's more amazing on the fact that when I say I don't think he's changed that much, I think it's more in the form of your mannerisms more than anything. I mean, like, it's hard to describe, because obviously it's been such a long time since I've been out, and that's more due to the pandemic rather than choice. And like, it's crazy to think that comparison to all the people that I've met, and despite whatever you have done, and you have done many of crazier things, I still consider you probably one of the more sensible human beings during their youth. And it's crazy because, you know, the irony is as well, now that we've become older, or even better, seeing other people's perspectives of you when you were younger, or seeing people talk about certain generations. You know, when people are just like, oh, why are they doing this? Why are they being so rebellious? Why are they staying out so late? Why are they acting like this? And I'm like, I'm sorry. When you guys were kids, you were out at 1 o'clock in the morning in the middle of a park or in the middle of the countryside next to probably a river doing all sorts of weird animalistic orgies because, you know, like...
Where is this going?
I'm just saying that, like, you know, someone's, like, the generation of, like someone's, like, granddads. Like, hold on, let me get to the point of this. I'm just saying that I think they tend to forget what they acted like when they were younger and what they had, what they did when they spent time. Yeah, that's just a slight exaggeration, but that's what they used to go out. They used to go out and like,
imagine going out. What's going out?
You know what I mean? Like, but like they used to do, like, you know. That's why curfews was such a thing back in the day, because, you know, some of them would do wild, amazing things, because there was a time where the internet didn't exist, and, you know, what kids and young adults used to do, maybe some kids and young adults now have never had that opportunity. So I'm just saying, like, you know, that's why I think different generations, it's like, oh, you want to catch me back in the day? I was like, yeah, because you was too busy, you know, reading comic books in a tree house, or
having an orgy.
Yeah, having an orgy near the riverbed, you know. It's one of them. But the thing is, I remember that because when you said perspectives, I was like, damn, it literally brought me back to, like, some of the stuff I got up to when I was, which I think is a bit... I don't want this podcast being a Jason of, like, this, you must be this age to listen to this. I'm not going to try and do that, but some of the stuff now, in comparison, I think I would think twice. I think I still had that mentality. You grew up way much more than I think I have, for example. If I looked at that now, I'll be like, yeah, but I think I'll be impulsive to be like, ooh, and then I'll remember, oh, wait a minute, I'm 31. Yeah, that might not be the best course of action. And it's weird to think about because, obviously, back then you had comfort in the idea of someone was looking after you. Yeah. Even though you didn't actually think about it, like, in a sense of, like, oh, it's okay if I get into trouble because my parents will help me out. It wasn't like that. I think it was just brought into our subconscious that, you know, my mum and dad or whoever was looking after you cares and would do stuff to help you out if you got into trouble, I guess. Maybe that it was the mentality to some people. I don't think that was my mentality. I think my mentality, I was quite a... I didn't want to upset my parents, so when I tried to do, you know, the radical stuff, I would bullshit through my teeth to make it out that I'm doing something else, to make sure that, you know, I don't have to have that burden when I come back home the next day. But it's weird that, yeah, you were so much more of a free spirit, and if anyone has any, if I had to give any advice to anyone that is listening that is a younger audience member, do what you can to experience as much as possible until you have that time where you'll start hitting that responsibility. I'm not saying, like, you know, go to get an aeroplane, run away from home, spend your life in Las Vegas and again, dark alley, drugged up. No, I'm just saying, just experience something. Like, for example, like, explore the outside world is one thing, because I loved I loved traveling and just experiencing like nature when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know if you've ever done this, but did you ever just like go into a park with like a friend or a couple of friends and just climb trees and...
Mate, that was my entire childhood. We lived in the countryside with no internet.
Oh yeah. So yeah, tell the audience about this. Is the reason why you spent 40 quid in a taxi, by the way. And believe me, we prayed to the gods when he got a car. Talk about your countryside experience, because I know since I was born in the city, even though the countryside was next to me, so I did get that luxury, thank goodness. But you are literally, I lived next to a countryside. You were in the countryside. You were the country boy. Yeah.
My parents still live there now, so it's like the nearest shop is 10 miles away. Like the nearest like anything is it's like 10 miles away. It's 15-minute drive to the nearest anything. And they had a post office that got shut down, so that was great. The internet didn't work properly because there was something in the road that prevented the internet from working correctly. So even if you bought the best internet, it would still work like you got a post office connection. So you couldn't do anything. Like if you were doing online gaming, it would close you off every half an hour. So there was kind of no point doing it. It was very, very difficult. So, and most taxis didn't even, and you can never get takeaways either because of how far away it was. So to get a taxi, they charge, well, 40 and up pound, depending on the time, because of the distance they would have to travel just to get to you, let alone to then get you there as well. So it's a nightmare. And because obviously I was drinking, I couldn't drive, because that's naughty. So,
Indeed.
So I just the one night I do remember driving there because I couldn't be asked to keep paying £40, and then I just slept in my car because I was just like, well, there's a way around this, isn't it? I'm just going to sleep in my car until the morning, go and get a breakfast, and then hopefully I'm okay later in the day. And I did do that, and it was freezing, but you know, I saved myself £40. But
Adam, back in the day, for people that don't know, he lived in a situation where he wanted, obviously, like any other young person would, just want to see his friends, hang out, have a good time. And I remember so many occasions where you've literally spent so much money just to get here. Like, hey guys, how's it going? And then like absolutely, because you are probably one of the fastest people, and I think this is the reason why he had so much money, is because since you get, when it comes to alcohol, you get drunk pretty quickly.
Oh, it's great. I'm a cheap date. Yeah, ladies. Hello. But yeah, I can literally have like 3 drinks and I'm wasted. That's because I never drink though. So, you know, especially now that I'm even doing we're doing a workout in the Discord and we're sticking to a diet and stuff. So I'm literally even super cleaner now than I was back when I was drinking then. So back then I would only ever drink on those Thursdays. So it used to mess me up pretty quickly, which was good because it saved me a load of money, I guess. But or did it though? Saying that, I don't know. But either way, it was fun. But yeah, it's kind of, I used to do that a lot before lockdown. So just coming down and see people in general. I would drive half an hour from my house now to go and see people in town. Literally just to like hang out, which is kind of crazy, really. But when you live so far away from all your friends and you can drive, why not, really? But back onto the perspective topic, because we're going a bit off topic there. What's like, if you had to look at your perspective in terms of money, if you had to talk about that, in terms of how you felt, say like 2021 to the age that you are now, do you still feel the same personally, or how
I only recently would say that I have had at least a game plan with mine. I've always been terrible with money, not because I spend it, on stupid shit, it's because I literally would probably I would be cautious one time when I didn't need to be cautious, to the part where I do spend it a lot, and I'm like, you need to stop. You know you need to stop, but you're not going to, because you're having too much of a good time, and you don't want the buzz to stop. And that's the thing. The buzz will stop eventually, because nothing lasts forever. But I didn't know when to stop, and then I always was very adamant about. I would never, well, not never, sorry. Very rarely go to a place if I didn't think I would enjoy. So I always stuck to rock clubs and things like that. And I was like, yeah, I don't care how much money I spend. But then regretted the next morning. It was nothing material based I used to buy. It was just alcohol. Or cigarettes, or trying to flirt with women. Anyway, so yeah, I feel like I'm much more responsible now with my money. Honestly, dude, I don't. Well, the pandemic has helped, but I save so much money, and I thought about it. When I even go shopping now, I think of my budget, and I can go to a shop. Because I live independently, I can go to a shop and get £15 worth of shopping, and that could sustain me for 2 weeks. Now, I actually find that quite impressive, considering. But sometimes I do treat myself a little bit more, and it will go about 20 to 25. But it's I'm very... I don't go and buy that expensive stuff. I usually go for more the cheaper option, like Iceland and Lidl, which is the newest place I've ever been to. Oh my god, thank God for Lidl. But it's mate, it's amazing as well. But yeah, I've been so much more cautious, and I've been saving money, even though it's not a massive amount. It's noticeable. But if you asked me about 3 years ago, to be fair, the triple digits was almost turning to double digits. That's how bad I was with money when it came to that stuff. So yeah, I feel like I'm vastly improved with the responsibilities with money. But it's crazy. It's crazy to think about, because I think a lot of people hit a brick wall when it comes to perspective. Looking back now, I never thought I would be this well and down with money. I mean, even though it's a struggle, maybe just like yourself, because maybe your perspective is it do you think things have gotten easier for you? Do you think there's been a calming stage rather than because I know that there's that chaotic stage, isn't there, in I'd say in your 20s and stuff, where you don't know what you want to do with your life.
I personally always had that that problem with not knowing what I wanted to do. Recently, I've kind of realised what I wanted to do, and knowing that I wanted to do it for quite a long time, I've just kind of got to see how it plays out. But I feel like I might be a bit too old to do it now, but we'll see. Obviously, the streaming and stuff is a hobby, and if that takes off, that's great. Same with the YouTube and everything else. But there's something I do want to do, and if I eventually get to do it, even at the smallest level, it will be posted on the Discord and Facebook and stuff, and I will tell people about it. But if it does, I don't want to mention anything just in case I don't get to do anything. Just do anything with it, basically. But what's the saying? Don't count your eggs till the chickens hatch, or something. What was it?
Don't count your chickens until they hatch.
That's it. That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
I nailed that saying. Sick.
Yeah, no, congratulations.
And in terms of money, we're saving things. My money is such a roundabout compared to whereas before, thinking about back when I was younger, you know, what I would earn, I'd just split my wage, and then I'd have like half of my wage go into a savings account, and then that was where I'd save my money. Now, because I have, I've not been able to work since March, so my money's already a bit restricted. And then when I think I'm saving money, something crazy happens, like a massive car repair, or I don't know, my daughter needs a load of new school clothes that cost a fortune, or something breaks, like I need a new washing machine. You know, just something massive happens that costs like stupid amounts of money, and it stops me from being able to save money. So, but at the same time, like some bills are getting cheaper, and I am saving money because of, like you said, like COVID, not going out as much has saved me money, but it doesn't feel like it in my perspective. But at the same time, I'm not. When I think back to how I was when I first moved into like this flat in particular, like 5 years ago, I was like struggling to buy food. I was that poor, but at least I've still got like money left at the end of the month to like get stuff with, like petrol and food if I need it. So there's assets. So in a sense, I guess I have, and I know with like age and stuff, it will get easier compared to what you know. If you just asked me this back when I was like 2021, I wasn't even thinking about saving money more. Well, no, I suppose I wasn't. Like, I wasn't necessarily trying to save money for the sake of it. I was just doing it because I had so much income. I mean, I had 3 jobs. So I had so much income, I was just putting it somewhere and not really thinking about it. And at the same time, didn't really care if I wasted £2,000 in a year on drinking. So my perspective's definitely changed on the way that I manage my money and what I spend it on and what I consider to be important spending it on now. I'm one of my key. You know, it's funny that you said that you found me you think I'm a very organised person, because I've always thought that about myself personally when it comes to literally anything. Right, so it can either be, if I'm, for instance, when I was working at the co-op, it can be either putting stock away on shelves, or it can be organising storage on a game, or it can be organising stuff that I'm going to do in the week with like food prep, or literally anything. I swear down.
Podcast.
Yeah, literally anything. Like if I have like a project to do, I swear I have like a tiny bit of OCD with it, because I go full on, like full energy with it, and I love to plan things out and organise and set things out and have like a time. How am I going to do it for? What we're going to do? You know, I love it, and that's kind of why I like streaming so much, because you can put a schedule down, you can edit videos up and have like titles and thumbnails and days that you're going to do it on, and it's just how my brain just likes structure. And that's what lockdown affected me so much, just because there was zero structure to my day, because we would get up, there was no school to take her to, and then we'd do nothing, and it was just the same over and over again. Whereas now we get up at like 7:30 in the morning, I take her to school, so by the time we come home it's like 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm already like awake, dressed, I'm ready to go. Do you know what I mean? Which is why I started doing streaming in the day, because my brain's just on and it's brilliant. And because I was like falling out of love with streaming, because the nights were getting to me, and you know, it's always kind of a bit depressing having to do it, getting up the next day not having anything to look forward to because we couldn't go anywhere. Whereas now, doing them in the day, I've still got the rest of the day to do other stuff like this, and it's great, you know. Where if I was still doing streaming on a Wednesday night, I wouldn't be able to do this with you. So it's because I was doing Wednesday night streaming for quite a good half a year. So it's I'm very much structured in that way, and it's interesting that you notice, because no one's ever actually pointed that out to me before, which I found quite interesting that you had. Because people that I speak to more than, well, say that, I probably speak to you more than most people now, because now that we do this anyway. So that's probably why. But yeah, I've always been like that, thinking back to how I was before as well. It's interesting.
I think some things don't leave you. I think like sometimes that, even though that perspectives change and stuff, even towards like who you are and what identifies you. I mean, like, perspectives change all the time, but I think there's always a core element to at least some people that will always remain the same, which is weird. I think that, like, a lot of people have like these tropes, don't they, about their personalities and stuff, and like I just think that's one of yours. Like, in comparison to some of the people that I've met in my life, they wouldn't get themselves out of a plastic bag, not alone to, you know, set up a a dinner for a couple of people for a birthday event, or for example. But it's crazy to think about. Here's a question regarding to what I was saying about generation gaps. How about what's your perspective on the youth of today? Since you're a parent and an adult now.
I personally feel there is a huge difference which is not expected, but like it's a given that it was going to be different. But there's a huge difference in the way that people of our generation have been brought up to how people of like the last 10 years have been brought up, because of the internet being a massive thing, and due to very controversial things coming out, I feel has also affected it. Things with the presenters, if you can get where I'm going at, all that sort of stuff that came out has stopped a lot of people, because when I was a child, I didn't sit, like obviously I sat watching the telly a fair amount of time like most normal kids do, but majority of the time, like on a weekend or after school, I would be down the park around from my house, and I'd be at the park for like 4 to 6 hours with my friends in the village, just at the park, just play fighting and or going building tree houses, or just doing just general crap, right? Just I was constantly outside all the time, and like you didn't dare speak back to your parents, and it was such a respect, which is still there obviously now to my mom, but like my dad and stuff, but like in looking at children now, how like they're so different. I'm thinking of like the typical like chav and the people that I've interacted with either for like college or school or just general other walks of life, who they've come from necessarily a different part of the world, because they've lived in a city or a bigger town centre, or they haven't necessarily, I suppose, I don't know whether it's like a country thing or whatever, because I was like, always outside, but like I feel like a lot of people in the 90s era and stuff were always outside all the time, because the internet wasn't this massive thing where you could just sit on Twitter and abuse people all the time by insulting them for saying some wrong word 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? And that's
God, yeah.
I feel like that's a huge problem now, is that social media has just ruined like kids growing up. They grow up way too fast. Like people that are like not even 10 are acting like they're 17, and it's crazy.
God, yeah.
Comparing like how my daughter speaks now, like she speaks so more like adult like than I did when I was her age, which is like in a way a good thing, as long as she's stays respectful and everything else, and doesn't become like this rude, snotty little person to people. But she won't be. But it's just like there are people out there that have become that. Do you know what I mean? They're just rude to everybody all the time, and it's very different. And I don't like how it's changed. And there's nothing really you can do about that, because that's just generally what the internet has done to people. Because we've gone from having to go and find knowledge in books and films and CDs and stuff, to now you could literally go on, anyone past the age of probably 6 or 7 has a phone and can just look up any sort of information they want fairly quickly within seconds over Google, of a tap of a button. But it's really changed how people interact with people and stuff, and it's just so different when looking at it now, and you can tell that through conversation with like younger adults as well. When you talk to them about stuff, and you just see like I wouldn't dare say that to people. Do you know what I mean? And it just shocks me in conversation a lot of the time.
I think the younger generation as well tend to forget that not everyone was blessed with that as their norm, due to the fact that I thought it was I thought it was genuinely terrifying when I witnessed a 3-year-old or maybe 2.5-year-old work a tablet without fail, knew exactly what to do at the beginning, because it's what they want, because it will get to something that they want. And this is my perspective of some parents. They think their kids are dumb, or they'll do something and simply going, no, it's going to stop them. And then when they do that like stupid fake crime bullshit or whatever, like some people's kids, seriously, you know what I do back as an experiment of proving a point, because I'm that much of a dick. when when a kid or a toddler cries, you know what I do back? I go wham back, whatever noise, and you know what they do? They stop and they laugh because they get it. It's like, oh, he's one of me. He gets it. I'm just like, if you did that to your child, show that the crying means nothing, they would do it much less, because kids are so much smarter than people think. By the way, I'm not downgrading any parents that listen to this, by the way. I am just simply
I knew you were that joke, for fuck's sake.
I am just trying to say that maybe do not underestimate your child.
They definitely play off reactions, don't they? If they can see that you're stressing, do you know what's the one of the key things like that you can notice with children? When they fall over and hurt their knee, they look to their parent for a reaction, for them to go, "Oh, are you okay?" If you don't react to them, they'll probably just get up and walk off and be fine. They
and brush it off, yeah.
Majority of the time, they'll do this scream and shout because they've seen that you're worried and they automatically feel that they've got to be worried and upset. It's mad. And you're going back to what you said about people just telling their kids no because they think they're dumb. I tend to explain to my daughter a lot of the time, like if she's done something wrong or I don't want her to do something, like say she's swinging back on a chair, for instance, right? Rather than just going, no, don't do it because I told you to, or explain why I don't want her to do something so she understands why she's being told, no, this is a bad, because you could hurt yourself, or you could get, it might be rude if you do something or say something, or you've got to clean up after yourself because it's hygienic, like whatever the the reason is. And I found that works a lot better than just simply saying no because I've said so. That's with me.
I mean, like, yeah, at the end of the day, it's your child, do whatever. I don't live with them every day. Like, I'm not saying I'm an expert nanny or whatever. I am just simply saying I've been around children quite a lot, and
that sounds
like, because my friends have had them, and I used to babysit to have money, so I have some experience with kids and teenagers and stuff. So yeah, for what I've learned, stop making it worse. So I've had some experience in that regard, and it does make me laugh. Where especially like I said, it is frightening what they can go and do to get what they want. And when they eat their dinners and stuff, the one thing I hate, this is a personal pet peeve of mine, I hate when people waste food.
Yeah.
Maybe that's probably the reason I'm so chunky, but I can't, for example, you've prepared a meal or you've prepared whatever for your kid, they take 3 bites and then they don't eat, and then they just prat around and stuff. And I'm literally going mental in my brain, I will literally eat that if you don't. It's obviously, and then one time I was at a friend's house and I actually got a fork, I stuck it in the kids' food. Obviously they trust me, but they even call me Uncle Mike, so it's fine. And I was just like, you see this? I'm gonna eat this, and then after I've eaten this, I'm gonna eat all of it. Alright? So, if you want this food, you eat it. If not, I'm gonna eat it. And you know what they did? They ate all that bloody food. I was like, I am
Nanny Mr. Books out on the 21st of June. 5 tips how to feed your children and other people's children too. Has had experience with teenagers and young adults. Not in that way. You sick fucks.
Cause in brackets at the lower part of the book. Cannot stress this enough.
Not in that way, in brackets.
Yeah. In bold red capital.
Turns over the first page. I mean it seriously, not in that. Don't call the police. Please don't lock me up.
And then second page, he said, "Okay, and now back to the books." Oh my god. Oh my. But it is crazy though. Like, I love the fact that we grew up in an age, and this is another perspective. Like, I look at the perspective of how kids watch like programs now, and like, for the life of me, I will never understand why people enjoy Peppa Pig.
Just so people know, Mike thinks Peppa Pig is the devil, so he has a grudge.
No, George is the devil. Like, the beady little eyes, mate. Don't trust anything that has beady eyes. That's all I'm saying, because it's unnatural. But yeah, I digress. It's when we used to watch cartoons, I feel like they were made for everyone, I feel, because, like, for example, if you watched an episode of the Powerpuff Girls, I'm talking old school Powerpuff Girls, there were adult references that they knew that the kids wouldn't get, but they put them in there so whoever's watching, the parents watching, they'll get a chuckle and a laugh. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I get it.
Like, you will never ever find that in the newest cartoon stuff, or new animations for kids and stuff, because now, like, companies know that they can leave their child with a tablet and be like whatever, and just like go brain dead. And I'm like, how can you? I feel sorry for any modern parent that has to endure that shit. Like, I really do. Like, I feel my heart goes to you. Because some of the worst things I've ever seen. And, like, just, if you want to, like, you know, give your kids something good to look at, just put them old classic 90s, early 2000s stuff. That was the shit. That was the jam, son. Well, you know, old school Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, some slapstick, some fun, you know? Maybe not Ren and Stimpy.
I'd say this, I think you're getting old.
Yeah, you see, this is the thing though, it's crazy to think about. Like, I think to some degree how people raise and teach and look at the perspective of the world these days is dramatically different. I feel definitely more, what's the word I'm looking for here? Even though it was a lot more dangerous, I felt somewhat more safer back then than I do now sometimes, in terms of like going out. I know that sounds strange, but I feel like people have much better ways of like being more intimidated now these days. It's like if you had like a confrontation, right?
Yeah.
I feel like back then there's only so much they could do. These days, I mean, the least worst thing, like even if they get like stabbed, that'd probably be the least of your worries of comparison to what some people can do to you now. It's like, it's really weird. Like, back in the day, you probably get beaten up in the car park. Now, someone can literally just steal all your money by simply doing a hack code. It's like, the world has changed in somewhat safer ways and so much more dangerous ways as well. It's crazy. And it's just so funny when you hear the older generations and their perspectives about some things. Like, for example, and I didn't know this, it was illegal to be gay in the 60s, and like all the way before then till I think the mid or late 60s, I believe. You weren't allowed to be gay. Like, if you heard that now, you would laugh at that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's insane to think about that was illegal.
I bet the prosecution was hilarious. Like, the evidence. Like them trying to prove that someone was gay must have been hilarious in court. Imagine them all sitting there serious. Oh my god!
Could you imagine, like, it's like, can you testify to this? It's like, well, Johnny said he fell over a banana peel, and then the next thing you know, he went up Alex's ass. It's just, we don't know what happened. We don't know how his pants dropped down during this, and we don't understand why he couldn't get back up again, and then kept on falling in, and then back up and falling in, back up and falling in, over and over again. But they seemed to both have a good time at the time. Like, Jesus. It's mad to think about, dude. Mad to think about that. That was not allowed. Like, you couldn't be who you are because higher society looked down upon it. Like, even further through time, dude, they'd probably get you done for witchcraft.
Oh, like, yeah. I've got, yeah, it's crazy. It's progression, isn't it, I suppose? But it's... There's some nutty law. There's even some laws now that are like crazy, that are like still technically laws, but they're just not enforced. Some really silly ones.
Do tell.
I can't think of it off the top of my head. I know there's like ones to do with like the Queen and stuff, or like you can't. Is it something to do with like something to do with her guards outside of Buckingham Palace? So I know, like if you hit them, that's something you can. There was like a beheading one that's still legal, and I can't remember what exactly it is now. I'll have to look it up afterwards, but I know there's some like really crazy old-fashioned ones that like aren't publicly known that well. Like you can look them up, but like if you ask the typical person, they probably wouldn't know them. But everyone knows, like if you strike, what are they called, the guards outside with the big fuzzy hats? I forget what they're called now. Outside the palace.
I've always just called them the Royal Guard.
Yeah, there's an actual name, and I can't think of the top of my head now. But I know, like if you attack them, they've got like every right to like. Lock you up, put you in the dungeons and stuff. There's definitely one where you end up in like London dungeons, and I can't remember what the law is about it. It's going to really bug me, and I can't remember the top of my head now. It's my own fault for bringing it up and not knowing the answer. But I have got another one to do with perspective, and it was on the radio today on the way back from dropping daughter to school. People are saying how they even like when they have stuff delivered to the house or they go shopping. That a lot of people have said they've experienced now that they have anxiety because they've been inside for so long. So I was wondering what your perspective would be on how you feel people are going to be able to handle going back outside fully, altogether, with no restrictions, now that everybody has lived for a solid year now with either full restriction lockdowns or some, depending on what stage we've been in throughout the year. But for a solid year, we've been in some sort of restrictions now. So how you felt people are going to be able to cope with going back outside and seeing that many people? Because I know it's weird. I remember going outside to go to the shops right at the start of lockdown and during. It's been really weird seeing hardly anybody around because, the shops have been closed and not many people have been outside. But now I've kind of got used to it. So I think it's going to be really weird going to a place like London or Birmingham city centres where it's just thousands of people everywhere, right? Which at some point we are going to get back to that because we're going to have to survive as a country. We're eventually going to have to get back to that full people everywhere. It might be a couple of years, but we'll eventually get there. So I find it really interesting how people are going to be able to mentally cope with going outside. And there's just, because like in Birmingham, for instance, a lot of the time you can't even move in the street because there's that many people. You just kind of bunching past everything. So you go through Bullring and there's just, you literally are barging shoulders a lot of the time, going upstairs and stuff. It's crazy. So how people are going to deal with that, knowing that the knowledge that we've had with COVID and everyone's worried about the 2 meter thing and wearing a mask, and how do you feel people are going to cope with that mentally, and whether people who have developed anxiety through it, because I know there's been record breaking a number of cases recorded of people suffering from mental health during lockdown, which obviously is not, it's not shocking considering doctors are nearly impossible to get an appointment at. People can't get their medication because of restrictions, all the rest of it, right? You can't go and see a therapist because of social distancing. So it's not surprising that's the case, but I find it would be really interesting to see how people have to deal with that, like both physically and mentally now. When we initially hopefully, fingers crossed, 21st of June, get to go out with no restrictions.
Well, yeah. I mean, was it regrading? I was going to say regrading, and I know it's not
That's
the word.
Perfect English there. That was smashing.
Thank you. I know what word I'm thinking of, but like it literally just absorbs me out. Like, yay! But people going back into going back to some form of normality to society again. The funny thing is, you say that, and it reminded me of a time when I was walking down the main street of King's Heath, and I noticed because they did die down at some point. There were because I could usually walk down the street, and there's like you only see one or two people, and just wearing masks and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then like there were just, and this happened not too long ago. But people were going past me, and I noticed there was more people on the streets, and it was during a time where it was just a similar time I used to go out and do whatever I needed to do. And you know what? I felt uncomfortable. Not because of like some of them weren't wearing masks. It was the fact that there was more bodies.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. Yeah.
Yeah, like I did feel genuinely unnerved.
Anxious.
Like I was a bit like almost confused in a way as well, because I felt like, have I missed something? Is it over? Are we? Is this a sign of going back to something? Because it has been that long, where this has become the new normal. I mean, some people, if I'm honest with you, probably have not noticed anything different because they've always been social loners, you know what I mean? And they've always stayed inside, they've always been indoorsy. So I think to some people, it's not going to affect them as bad. But I swear, it was second nature, because obviously Birmingham is the second biggest city in England. And it was second nature to go through the ball ring, because you knew it was going to be full. And since it's an industrial city, it's a people's place. So you kind of just go to the back of your head and just like carry on, even though you was like literally like an ant in a colony. But now it's going to bring out multitudes of different type of people. You're going to have the people that are going to like strip down naked and do all sorts of wacky dumb shit because, like, you know, they've been enclosed for so long and they're going to act like a bunch of wild animals. Then you're going to have people that are going to try and integrate, that's it, back to society again, but don't know how to handle it, because it's pretty much a little bit of a master reset button to some people. So a few people probably won't even have a problem getting back out there again. Especially like people that have been key workers. Obviously not much has really changed. They said they had to wear, masks. I think a lot of people are gonna feel a little bit bewildered, because during this pandemic, if you had the opportunity to do stuff like go shopping or just do something that would require traveling or queuing, but shit was done much faster. But now it's stuff, I don't think people are going to realise how much waiting you have to do in normal society. So everyone's going to be like, God, I wish this virus was back. I could have got home quick.
Yeah, the traffic's really mental, isn't it? Yeah.
It's so weird. Like, everyone's celebrating, kind of, about, finally we can go back to our normal lives. But at the same time, it's going to hit hard for a lot of people. And some people, I can literally see not ever that this is their life now. They can't go back to the old life.
Yeah.
I can see that happening. And take it from a person that literally because like I always wanted to, I wonder what my purpose was in my life, for example, and I think I found my purpose, and that is to entertain. I've always liked to entertain people. That's always what I've done, and I found a way to do it to such an extent where I would rather do that than anything else. So when normality comes back, I welcome it, but at the same time, I'm a little skeptical of how people are going to be, because I think this experience, from what I've seen through my streams or when I go out, people have changed through this.
Yeah.
For better or for worse. Obviously, mostly for the worse, but it's so weird how one global catastrophe, even though it wasn't like, you know, an apocalypse, the fact that people were forced to stay indoors for so long has affected their confidence, their...
The thing is, I think, because it could have been, couldn't it? It could have been an apocalypse if we hadn't have got a vaccine, if we hadn't have put restrictions in place. And I know there was delay on that, especially in the UK, but if they hadn't have done anything about it, it very well could have killed a massive... I mean, I know it killed a massive amount of people anyway, but it could have got even bigger than that, than it did. Which is why I think it puts so much fear into people about going back out again. Because I certainly personally are going to be very more restrictive with how I generally walk around, like in shops and stuff. Even after they say, even after the 21st of June, I'm still wearing a mask. Like I really don't care. Just like it's going to take me a while. Even if Boris turns around on 21st of June and says no restrictions, you can do whatever you like again now. You don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to wash your hands anymore. I'm still going to carry around the soap with me, like this, you know, the gel stuff. I'm still going to wear a mask. I'm still going to try and stand as far away from people as possible when going in and out of shop. Like that's because that's so embedded in how we've been living now. Like you said, it's going to be very difficult to undo that because people are just so accustomed to it. So it's a very interesting one for me as well. Personally, I don't know, because like you said, you know, a lot of people it won't affect necessarily because they didn't necessarily go out all the time. I didn't go out a great deal, but when I did go out, like on the weekend, every other weekend to see my friends, we would often go, like we'd go to a pub or we'd go to get food from a Nando's or whatever. So it's going to be weird at first, I think, very, very weird, and I'll be surprised if it's as busy as it is right at the start. I think you'll find a lot of people are going to be very hesitant to go straight back to how it was before, because they're all going to be very worried, I think.
I actually think, in terms of what you meant about hesitant people, yeah, I know there's going to be a few that are going to be hesitant, but I reckon there's going to be more impulsive fuckers. Yeah, I truly think they're going to be like, because some people don't realise, just because the 21st of June is when shit opens again, you do realise a virus does not rely on time. That doesn't mean COVID does not exist anymore. It's not like they've looked at their watches. Oh, we've had our time in the spotlight, boys. So we're going to call it a day. We're going to magically disappear. No more corona. You know, that's not how it works. It's still going to exist. But there's a lot of stupid people out there that are going to go out and party and, you know, go to the riverbed like they did back in the olden days. Haha! You know, it's like, it's going to be a lot of people doing dumb shit, because remember when they dropped it down a little bit, going, right, you can go to the pub, but be careful, make sure you're like 2 meters away from each other, and be patient. Soon as the fingers got clicked, there were thousands of people in London literally dry humping each other, no masks, fucking goddamn like ordering, being impatient, fights breaking out. Literally, you could see so many people if I could show you a picture of literally what happened after what you were supposed to do, you would be disgusted to belong to the human race, because people were that selfish and that not caring about other people. It was ridiculous. So I would like to have a little bit more faith in humanity, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I really hope people literally just stop and think. This is an opportunity to show that we have self-control and make sure that there'll be no more lockdowns if we just calm our tits and just be mindful of others. It's not a hard ask, is it? You know,
No.
It's not a hard ask. So yeah, I would like to think people have grown up and people have matured and people have learned from their previous mistakes of, you know, just, you would think it would make people grow up, this entire experience. You think that people would
Not
have
be
grown up.
so self-centered about everything as well. 'Cause I know that's changed me a lot. Again, thinking about back, you know, thinking about how I was even just before the lockdown, in regards to, because obviously I'm not like a horrible person or anything, but I wasn't massively self-centered, but I didn't necessarily go out of my way to think about other people's well-beings or their problems, especially if I didn't know them very well. Like obviously family and close friends you do naturally, but like just people that you sort of know, like friends of friends or whatever, I found myself just messaging them, people that I vaguely know throughout lockdown, just checking if they're okay and stuff, because of how many people that we've lost and everything that we've been going through. I've found my point of view from before and after. I feel personally that I'm very more compassionate towards people now, and I have literally zero tolerance for negativity or being argumentative with people, whereas before I quite enjoyed an argument. Like if I felt I was right in a certain aspect of something, like if I knew I was in the right on something, I'd challenge people to engage in like an argument, like a healthy debate with me about it. Whereas now I'm not interested in any of that in the slightest. I've kind of like feel like I've mellowed out over lockdown. Do you know what I mean? Like in my views of what matters, because like just because with COVID you literally could just die tomorrow. As I've known people that there's a woman that I worked with a few years ago, and she died of COVID 2 weeks ago, just out of the blue, just completely, just no one, she just died from it randomly. She was completely healthy. She was only 40, just gone. So that could happen to literally anybody. It still could happen to anybody, because there's people that have the vaccine and are still getting ill from COVID. It's still a possibility. It's not 100% cure. So, and not to like put a damper on it, I'm just kind of like trying to explain where I'm coming from. So I try to look at things in a sense of, well, does that really matter? Do you really need to care that much about, for instance, what people think of you? Like if you do something, I don't know, say you play a particular game on stream, or you put a particular type of YouTube content out, or you watch a certain type of movie, or you listen to a type of music, or even to do with like what you present yourself as, whether you're gay, straight, or the other thing, anything else that you'll come out. Even if you want to identify yourself as a dog, does it really matter what others think? If someone's got a problem with that, before I would get annoyed, because I have friends that are, friends that are gay or different, or furries, or bisexual. That I have all different types of friends that are all different type of things on that spectrum, right? Where if I was with them and someone would like take the piss, I would get quite actively annoyed, because I'd be thinking, well, how dare you? What is it to you? Why you pick on this person? Now it's just kind of like, yes, that's wrong, but just ignore the person. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to spend your energy and your time being bothered by that sort of stuff, and it doesn't just apply just to that. Just in general stuff, like when we was talking before, like if you have a boss at work that's just being a knob, you know what? Just go home and just forget about it. Just leave it at work. You know what I mean? It's not worth the stress. And this applies to so many different things for me. And I've been thinking about that a lot over the course of lockdown. Just trying to not stress over things, even yes, they even might be very important at the time. You know, like I've had a massive car bill recently. It was like nearly £500 car bill that I had to pay outright, and it's really, really stressful. But once it's paid, and it was paid and it was fixed, yes, it was a hell of a lot of money. Could I have done without paying it? Yes. But it's done. Do you know what I mean? There's no point sitting there stressing over it overnight. Or if, you know, I haven't been at work since last March. Am I stressing about not being able to earn that extra money because I needed it and I still need it now? Yes, obviously. But can I change the situation at the moment? Not currently. So there's no point stressing about it. Do you know what I mean? Because the reason I can't go back to work, by the way, is because I have to wait for my injection. And I'm also giving it a bit of time to see what happens with the schools. Because as most people know, when they open the schools up in December, they close them again pretty soon after. So I'm going to give it a couple of weeks with the schools being open to see if they stay open this time, and then try and go back to work, because there's no point stopping work. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work, but anyway. But yeah, so that I'm not trying not to stress over things, because for one, stress is like the worst thing for your health with anything. It's like stress can kill you. So it's really not a good idea to let things ponder on in your head and stuff. And that's so whenever I come across stuff now, even if it's just silly things like on social media, someone says like a comment for no reason. They're just saying negative comment for absolutely no reason. It's like we had someone come in on Discord a couple of weeks ago, hasn't spoken. He'd been in there for a while, hadn't spoken a word, just said a negative comment for no reason. And normally I would message them and find out why they'd done that, this, that, and the other. And I thought, there's not even any point, because that person's clearly got their own issues, whatever they feel the need to do that, right? So I just remove the comment, remove them, and just be done with it. And that's on them. And then just take it up and don't worry about it, because then it just saves me having to have extra stress. And it stops there being a continuous argument, and it doesn't put fuel on the fire, essentially. So, and that's made me feel a lot better mentally. And then it helped me sleep better, to be honest, as well. Trying not to stress as much things. My mum always says this about me. She said, if you was any more chilled, you'd be asleep constantly. But considering,
I agree.
But and I personally think, I mean, people might see that as a bad thing, but I personally feel that it's a healthy way to live your life. Try not to stress about things, because my parents stress massive stress heads about a lot of things, and it just, you can see it plays on their sleep and plays on their health, and it's not a good thing to sit there and stress about stuff. So that's and I've only progressed out of that. I've come into that progression of thinking about that kind of mindset of trying not to stress and be more chill, purely just through lockdown, and thinking about how I was beforehand. And you know what? I don't want to live like that anymore, and I chose not to live like that, and I've been trying to improve on that during lockdown. That's kind of been the thing I've been doing throughout the whole inside period. But yeah.
I mean, can I just say, for whoever's watching, I cannot stress enough how I 100% agree where Adam was coming from when he talked about back in the day. Because if you had something that he would disagree with, it would be someone replied back to him in such a manner. I mean, like, Adam would sometimes let it slide a little bit, depending on the reply back of the disagreement. But if you gave any form of justification that you made it out like, oh no, you're definitely wrong and I'm right, Adam would be there for hours, days, to prove his point of he is right and you are wrong. I cannot. Literally, I remember one time when we went out, and it was he spent all day arguing with this individual. I can't remember. This was a very long time ago, but and even when this other person pretty much, gave up, which most sane people would, Adam would still go. Anna would still be going, and how much the point was still proven, even though when this other person has stopped. It was hilarious, yet terrifying. Like, it was insane. But yeah, to be fair, most of the time you were correct on your statements and stuff. It was all opinion pieces. It wasn't factual, but yeah, you've from the youth of the times, I would say that you've become a lot more less caring in the terms of making big statements and I
don't give a fuck now about most things.
Yeah, which is good, and I can relate in terms of the whole Discord like example.
Yeah.
Because like back in the day, I used to really care what people thought about me. I've always been a very calm, laid back human being. But that doesn't mean I don't care or anything. I would care a lot about what other people thought, not particularly about me, just their own general ways and stuff. And I still do have that, but it gets so tiresome when you try for some people and they don't return the same kind of care back, and it's kind of like, why do I put myself out there? It's like, I don't know if it was because I thought it was I've just been me. That's how I've with it. I've not tried to prove anything to people. I've not done anything, but sometimes people just don't want to associate with you or want to be a part of your life because you haven't reached their bar. Like, for example, there's a friend of mine that doesn't talk to me anymore since a few, I would say about 5 years after college. So we did speak for a long time. I used to go and see them when at their university and stuff. But I think they've always were like secretly a high maintenance person, and I feel like they're up their own arse, where they won't talk to even the closest people in their lives because they haven't reached the bar of high maintenance. And when I say high maintenance, I mean like career driven, like workaholic, stuff like that. If you're not in the same ballpark as that now, you're not part of the social circle. And even when I said happy birthday to them, they didn't even get a thank you back, didn't get anything. And I was like, wow. And then like again a message and there was like literally no reply. I'm like, wow. Like there are some people that are up their own arse, and maybe their perspective is being successful and getting the best out of life is just knowing the people that have the same mentality as you. But that does not give you any right to be a dick. And the one thing I dislike about some people is I like an explanation why people do things. I still do. So that's something that I probably need to work on mostly. But I think everything happens for a reason. There's always a reason why people do things. So when people go, oh, no reason, bullshit. There is a reason. Consciously, subconsciously, it's a reason. And like, I hate when people can't explain their actions. Even like stupid, minute ones that probably don't even mean anything. There is a reason for doing it. And like you said, when it comes to Discord stuff, I used to be like, oh, why did you leave this over? Was there something that I need to improve on? Did you not feel comfortable or whatever? I give less of a shit about that now.
Yeah.
And but I focus more on the people that are there.
Yeah, focus on the ones that matter, that are active a lot, and because that happens a lot in general with following on Twitch in itself, doesn't it? Like you get people leave and join all the time, because that's just the nature of streaming and Discord. So, like you said, it's more important to focus on the ones that are sticking in there and putting the effort in, and trying to build a community and everything else.
Always make sure as well that you feel like you've done the right decision, because if the problem, like for example, from what I've learned during this lockdown, about people in general, don't give too many people what do you call it, too much of a leg to stand on, because you'll never know when that backfires right into your mouth pie.
I agree with that one.
Yeah, legitimately, you like to have faith in humanity. You like to have faith in the people that you've incorporated as like your friend, your ally, your partner, even, and stuff.
Yeah.
The shocking truth is that so many people are, and I don't personally I don't think I would ever do this. I don't know if it is just a human thing, kind of like you've raised a dog for years and years and years, and they've always been sensible, and then the next thing you know, they bite an infant's head off just because, like it's kind of like that. It's like, that's a weird analogy.
He gets sometimes.
I know it's a weird analogy, but like people are like that too. Like that, you completely fine, completely okay with you, and then the next thing you know, they've like literally turned on you for like, and then you try and think logically what's happened. Is there something that you have done that you realise that you haven't, and then you just realise they've always had this side of them, but they just didn't show it until now, and it's like, jeez, God, Mike, where did this come from? What the hell?
Yeah,
like
as personally, I've gone through that fairly recently, so I totally understand where you're coming from with that. That's interesting. Before you know it, decapitated baby. Before you know it,
like like it's so weird. And I don't know if it is because of the lockdown, or I may have like learned this later on. But I think, well, I learned a lot of things, the things that we've said quite early on, even when I was a teenager or a young adult. But I think I tend to forget that some people are capable of doing that. So every time I do see it over and over again, not to me especially, not to me all the time, but to other people in my life, and it just solidifies more of my belief that you could be the nicest person in the world, but we don't always know 100% about an individual.
No.
I think that is actually impossible. Even that, like, someone could say, like, yeah, it's like when there's people like a married couple that have been like, oh, we've been together for 75 years, and me and Philip have never had an argument, and I would go straight to that person's face and go, bullshit. And I would refuse to believe them, because, like, who hasn't been in a relationship and not argued or had a slight disagreement or spat? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's funny how, like, how many things have changed. One thing I will take that my perspective has changed is, and I know this sounds weird, trusting people is one thing, but if you give someone something to trust, or you trust them with something, you've also given them the power to have maybe a say in something.
Yes.
And you don't realise that you've given more power to them than you think. And then
people give interpretations of the word trust, I think, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
I totally get what you're on about.
Yeah, I trust a lot of people, but sometimes you don't realise. Like, quite a few times I've come up to this point where I'm like, shit, I've given power. If I upset them, I've given them the power to really fuck up my life. Which is a strange and terrifying feeling. It's not because I think they will do it. It's the fact that obviously my perspective on people just snapping just like that, and just completely changing their personality just like that.
Yeah.
It's a terrifying revelation. Thankfully, at this particular moment in time, I have nothing to worry about, I guess, because I'm not in that position per se, I'd say, because the people that I do trust, I know, wouldn't. But like, I think when I was younger, I think I was more interesting of, oh, this person won't do this to me. But now it's more like, I know what type of characters people are now. I can tell by their character that I know they couldn't do this. I don't think they would be capable of doing this.
You was more naive, as probably the better word for it, isn't it, when you were younger? Because as most decent-hearted people would do, you'd expect the good out of people before you would expect any bad or ill intent. So now that you've experienced life a bit, at least this is from my perspective, I can very quickly identify a certain type of person within like 10 minutes speaking to them normally, and know whether this is going to be a person I like, or a person I can trust, or someone that I really shouldn't get to know because they're probably just quite toxic, or their opinions or their personalities are just too indifferent to mine. So that's a massive thing for me recently as well. You're having that kind of radar for sense of people quite quickly helps a lot with trusting people.
I mean, like, there's a lot of people that I like and enjoy, but and to be around with. One of my, you could argue this is technically classed as paranoia, feel free, but I always get a sense that I already have a feeling that someone doesn't like me, even if I can't see their face. You can tell by the voice and stuff, or you can tell about how they interact with other people, but comparison to you.
Yeah.
Now, again, fair enough if people think that that's paranoia. However, when you've been doing streaming and interacting with other people for a long period of time, you can tell, because they do little things like not indirectly talk to you. They're still carrying on with the conversation, even though you've gone hi to someone and other people have said hi, but they don't. It's like,
yeah,
okay.
That's a skill, isn't it? You pick up through streaming. The ability to like public speaking and dealing with a large amount of people at one time is definitely a skill that you have to have with streaming, and it's very useful for what you're mentioning.
Definitely. It's and like, you would think, again, if you have a problem with someone, and here's a top tip that I've learned, because I've done this all my life to a degree. If you have a problem with someone, go to them and explain why you have a problem with that person. Do not assume that other person knows, or simply just don't tell them and then make accusations.
Yeah.
Because that is the worst thing you can do. Because if, for example, say like myself and two random people that were friends, say we're all fine, and then the one person has a problem with me because I said something, never did mention it to me, but said it to the other friend, and then they made the other friend convinced that I knew about this as well, but never talked about it. Like, oh, none of us three have talked about this, and then the other two friends don't become my friend anymore, and then I'm still here wondering what the fuck is going on. Don't be that person. No one likes that person, and you will be surprised how many of these life forms exist. It's weird. So yeah, if you got an issue or you feel like there's an issue, talk to that person, please, because what I've noticed is there's so many people like that. It's unbelievable. It's actually scary.
I'm very much like that as well. Like if I have a problem with someone, I'll be upfront and direct about it. And a lot of the time, we'll ask to talk to the person. Where from my personal experience, have found that a lot of people absolutely hate that approach with problems when it comes to people. Like if you said, if they didn't agree with something you've said, or maybe your personality is a bit too different to theirs, or you said a joke that they found a bit offensive, or whatever the thing is, right, that they disagree with. I found a lot of people don't like the 100% honest, direct, to your face approach of discussion. Even if it's friendly discussion, you don't come in aggressive. You just come in like, hey, you've got a problem, do you want to talk about it? Let's try and work it out. People don't like that a lot of the time, which I find really shocking, because that's the best way to deal with problems, because that's what stops further arguments and it progressing to more of a violent, aggressive stage. That could prevent actual fights in a lot of cases if people just talked about their problems. But a lot of people don't like doing that. They'd rather bitch about people behind their back and make stuff up that isn't true, or say stuff on social media and slag them off and all the rest of it. And that happens more and more and more. And that goes back to what you were saying about what my perspective was on the kids today. And I think that's going to be a massive issue, and already is a massive issue, but it's going to be even more of a massive issue going forward because of the kids that have had to grow up around a lockdown era where they've been inside. So their only form of contact has been social media, where at least the kids before could go outside if they so choose to. I reckon it's going to be such a problem now trying to have actual meaningful conversations, and if you have a problem with someone, rather than actually talking about it, they're going to have to just deal with it over social media, because that's what they've grown up around, even more so being inside for so long. Because there will be some kids, because even though we're meant to be out of lockdown by June 21st, it's going to be a few years before people can go out properly, the kids and stuff, and go back to how it was. So there's going to be kids that have literally been born within the last year or just before that are going to grow up that have only known lockdown and that
Jesus Christ!
Hello.
What the hell? My phone. Sorry.
There's a strange man.
My phone just came to life in the corner. Oh Lord! All right, carry on.
But
please.
There's going to be it's really throw me off. There's going to be all they're going to have known is that, so it's going to be really difficult for them to socialise properly without having to bitch about people on Twitter or whatever platform, social media platform that you use, which is sad really, but people just can't deal with that, and people at our age struggle to deal with that, so God knows what it's going to be like for people younger. I do have one question, as we've got about half an hour left. If you had to think of a perspective of one thing, what would be your perspective on life? Because I'm trying to end on a big question here. You have to sum that up.
Bloody hell. As a person that has anxiety and depression and what, sometimes you tend to have existential crisis.
Yeah.
And for the kids at home, basically, I think about death sometimes and dying and what there is. It's twice as terrifying for me because I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
I am not one of those. I am not one of those people. Like the thought of I just think that religion was created to stabilize dumb people. Due to the fact that a lot of people, if they think there's an afterlife, there will be less chaos in the world, basically.
Plus, some people need something to believe and follow in, I feel, in some sort of sense.
They need something to reassure them that's not
Yeah.
At the end of the day, yeah, you get what I mean. So my perspective is, be who you are, just be who you are, and care for the people that care about you. And like, throughout my years, I thought that, you know, just going out, enjoying yourself, be constantly surrounded by people that make you laugh, and just always have a good time, make every opportunity count. The reality is that if you fixate so much on, oh, I just want to be happy, oh, I just want to be happy, oh, I just want to be happy, you're going to forget to be happy. And I've done a lot of things in my life back in the day where I was like, I need to keep doing this, because what is the point? I don't want to be one of those people that work 9 till 5 and be bored and have 5 days of my week just doing something I hate, or doing something that I have to do because if I don't, I die. Like, that is the literal mist of it. And where I am right now, I haven't been this comfortable about at least a decision that I've made, because I've always been indecisive. I was such an indecisive person, but I always took the route of, I just want to enjoy myself. I feel like I'm a little bit more responsible now. I did have massive responsibilities. Well, I've had more powerful responsibilities. They got literally. I would say I've changed in the fact of, I know what happens where you was never good enough, or in a sense, when you realise there are more things that are important than something that you want, and it can destroy you as a person. So always be careful. Always think before you do, because if you don't, there's something that you're going to regret, and you're going to have to live with that with the rest of your life, and there's no amount of aftermath that's going to save you from that. And it will hurt a lot. And it's I feel like, even though that happened such a long time ago, it still burns the back of my head from time to time. I'm not going to disclose what it exactly is. It's been quite a few things, actually. At least 4 massive, impactful things in my life. And you just kind of get dwindled down, really. A lot of things happen to you anyway, as stuff eventually happens. Powerful, unspeakable things. And you just need to learn from them. And always cherish your time on this planet. Make sure you do something that you want to do, and do your best. Try and get through whatever crap that you don't want to do just to do it, because I know it's hard, like, it's difficult. I've learned that in so many different ways, and I'm very good at dodging difficult stuff, but eventually you will be back to a corner and you're just going to be like, what do I do? So I've learned, I'm a little bit wiser, I'm a little bit more chilled, in terms of, like, I don't have to always pick the option that clearly must be the best option. because the reality is that might not be the case. Don't push yourself to the point of exhaustion either, because that's never going to be good for you in any circumstance. And just live, especially if you're in a position where you go out with your friends, have a good time, whatever it could be. It could go to the pub, it could be planning on traveling. Make your dreams work. Don't, because I let a few of my dreams die, because I was either too lazy or I left for it a bit too long. If you're gonna go for something, go for it, but just be prepared for what that might mean. Because I wish we could all have dreams where there were literally no consequences and no sacrifices and no commitment issues and stuff. Just don't miss out on opportunities, I'd say. Because I'm still regretting some of my decisions in my life, but I've made new ones, and you know what? I'm pretty happy about some of the new ones. And the fact that people now look to me and are happy as soon as I turn one of my streams on, that to me is, to some extent, what I've always wanted. To make other people happy, to make other people laugh. So partially, I'm doing something right and I enjoy. I think my next step now is to, where do I take it from there? Which is obviously my own chapter of my own life. So, yeah, my perspective has changed, that I like to see other people grow rather than just myself. Yes. So, yeah, that was probably the main thing I got from that.
Got deep as shit.
Yeah. I didn't expect to get deep as shit.
No, it's good, man. I mean, you pretty much nailed it, and you even covered some of the things I was going to say about my perspective on life. How you talked about, making sure that if you have a dream or something that you want to go for, try and 100% go for it. I know people have restrictions in life, be it financial, physical, or mental. Mine at the minute is generally just financial and time. But I'm still trying to do the thing that I want to do, regardless of whether I should have started it earlier in life. I feel like what Mike said: if you've got a dream and you think you're capable of doing it, no matter what level that dream is, what's the harm in trying to go for something that you want to try and do? Do you know what I mean? If you enjoy it, there's no point looking back when you're in your 70s or 80s or 90s and having ifs, buts, or whats. Jeez, I'm butchered that saying, and think, what if I'd have done this? What if I'd have done that? I don't want to be that type of person. I don't care if I've got no money in the world, or if I've done everything that I wanted to do in life, or pretty much nailed everything that I wanted to at least try and have a go at, even if I don't succeed in it. If I've given something a good go, I'll be happy. And that's kind of where I'm at. I want to try and make sure that when it's my time to pass on and all the rest of it and jump in the box, I want to make sure that I've left not necessarily a mark, but I feel like I've achieved stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like you said, I don't want to be that person that just has a paycheck from 9 to 5 and just nothing with their life and then just regrets it and then becomes bitter about it. Even if I've got no money when I get to that age, if I'd have experiences that I can remember, like I already have experiences now from when I've done stuff with friends a few years ago that I just thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. Stuff that like doing events and like that I've been asked to do, like some people ask you to do certain opportunities and I just went for it for the sake of it, even though it might have cost me a load of money or it was a really long drive. I just did those things, and they're memories that you're going to have forever because they were just really enjoyable. That sort of stuff is what keeps me, and also trying to be as welcoming and understanding as a good person you can be to everybody has been a massive thing for me recently over lockdown. Try and be as understanding and warming to people as possible, and try not to, and really don't hold on to negative anything or toxic people or anything like that, and if there's any toxic people in your life, just get rid of them. Like, there really is no need. Just you're better off, focusing on you and the people that matter and that are around you, because the people that matter are the ones that stay around, and it'll be quite evident in your life looking around. You'll know which ones that count for shit. You know what I mean? But that's mainly my thing. So hopefully, if I do eventually, it's going to be a while off. Yeah, it'll probably be a good solid year probably before I ever do this thing I want to do. But if I do manage to do it, you will be hearing about it on one of the podcasts probably. Hopefully. So I'm excited for that. And hopefully I'll achieve the one thing, because this thing, I'm so desperate to talk about it, but I don't want to talk about it in case it doesn't work out. But if I do manage to do it, it's been like the one thing I've wanted to do for since I was a little kid, right? So the editing and YouTube and streaming stuff is something that I've always wanted to do, but was never a full-on passion. Well, it was a passion, but it wasn't the number one passion that I wanted to do. It was just something that I thought I'd love to try that, and now that I've tried it, I've realised I really enjoy it. So that's cool that it's turned into that kind of thing. And
side quest passion.
Yeah, essentially. And how you said you found out your not necessarily your goal in life, but your thing in life was you felt like you needed to be able to entertain people, and that's where you felt that was your reason essentially for being here. In another sense, not necessarily through streaming, but entertaining in another aspect, because I also and I'll talk to you about it after, but there's a different road, if we'll call it that, to do with entertainment that I thought were really good. So hopefully that works out, because that's what I feel like I'm going to be at least giving it a good college try. The saying is, right?
Yes, I think that is the.
I feel like if I've given it a good go, and even if I fail at it, I've given it a go, because if I get to the age and I've not tried even at least once, you know what I mean, I'm going to be annoyed at myself, because I like to at least do things like Mike said. If I have a project and I try it, I put full on 110% into things. So I feel if I give it good enough go, I can do. And that starts with me doing my workouts. So the fact that I'm sticking to those and doing those every day is getting me somewhere. So that's given me more and more kind of drive to you know what, I might be able to pull this off. And that's kind of where my perspective is, that always, if you've got dreams, chase them and try and do them as 100% as much as you can. Try to be nice to people. And if you've got toxicity in your life, try and cut it out, because it's not helpful for you. And try not to stress about things, man. There's too much bad stuff going on as it is. So holding on to stress is really not good for you in every single way possible. So try to just chill yourself out and enjoy the little things as well. Is a massive thing.
And I know that what we might say, maybe just it is. We do realise just saying these things don't make it easier. We just and maybe I wouldn't say all of it at all. Actually, I think only very few things. What we've said seem cliche, but the reality is that we are. Well, I'm 31 at the start from in this podcast.
I'm 29, but I'm 30 at the end of April. So
yeah, we have lived during the high stages, and yet 40 is apparently the middle road, the beginning of your life. And so if that's the case, we're still in the womb. So on that technical standards, we're still very young. I mean, we're just telling you what we have been through so far and what our perspectives are so far. But the great part about this is we just love to help people.
Yeah.
Me both. I think that's one of our more important things in our friendship, is the fact is that we've always tried, and almost not always agreed, but hence the reason why Adam would spend hours trying to correct. Anyway, but yeah, it's weird now to think about that. Some of the things that we have done in our lives have either mellowed or just completely evaporated. And who knows, maybe in the next 10 years something else may be a bit more positive in our lives. But we just want you guys to remember that. I know it's easier to say in words, but honestly, sometimes just listening to words just helps you on a conscious level.
Yeah.
We know it's not easy. We never said it was. And sometimes, in some cases, it never will be. But one day, you'll be in a position and you go, you know what? Everything's come together. There is literally not a single thing that could go wrong right now. And at this particular moment in time, I'm at the peak of my happiness. The sooner the better, I guess, to some people, but hey, if you're just happy with who you are and you're content in your life as it is, then fantastic, I say. You know what I mean? And by the way, I want to slightly retract one comment. I don't think all people that are religious are stupid. I just,
Oh my god!
I just want to
on
make
that,
that. It's just
Christ.
that might be an entirely separate podcast one day.
I don't think we're going to be able to pull that one off for you.
I think I'll probably be arrested.
It takes long enough to edit as it is, let alone having to bleep everything you talk about religion.
It'll just be the Simply podcast because
It'll just be like, hi guys, Mike's gone to bed today because he can't be trusted.
I've had to put him in the kennel.
You just hear from his bed, episode 23. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell the episode. Sorry about that. Hopefully by episode 23 we might actually have some face cam. I don't know, just right.
Could you? Yeah, one of our dreams is to well, I wouldn't say a dream, but one of our more ambitious wantings.
Goals?
Yeah, goals. That's the one. Well, hey, football. One of our goals is to try and expand this, and we would like maybe some feedback as well.
Yeah.
So from whatever you're hearing this from, if it's from YouTube, Spotify, word of mouth, or wherever you find this podcast and stuff, just let us know either in a comment section or on one of our Discords, because we both have Discords. Any feedback to some of these podcasts I'd greatly appreciate, and it'd be awesome to hear back from other people. I've actually had a couple of comments on some of the YouTube and Discord stuff, and they've been funny and they've been very informative. So if you want to, we do hear you guys. So
yeah, we do read the comments.
Like that. Yeah, we do read your comments. Some of them have been funny, to be honest. So really funny. And I think that's me done for today's session. Anything that you wanna?
No, I think we've pretty much wrapped that up quite nicely. As usual, guys, the links of all of our stuff will be in the description below. I will remember to put the episode number on. Don't worry. But thank you for listening or watching, wherever you're watching or listening it to. And we'll see you guys next week.
We've been Simply Opinionated. Thanks for listening. Take care.